James. I'm Camryn James, and with me, as always, the man, just Matt.
Yes, just Matt. Let's keep it just Matt for now.
Matt. That's how we're keeping it. So, but right off the bat, everybody, we're going to let everybody know we are playing The Last of Us. We are the bottom of the barrel video game podcast. We didn't get any cool review codes or anything like that. I'm only about 5 hours in. Matt, you said you're about...
Maybe 2.5. Honestly, I really did not get as much time in this weekend as I would have wanted. So once we're done here, that's what I'll be doing.
And that is the extent of our Last of Us conversation for the day until we end up beating it, and then we will have a full spoiler cast on that. So
yes.
What else have you been playing? Anything?
I've been going back to a lot of games since the plague struck. So I've just been replaying lots and lots of old games instead of just buying new things. I picked up some old JRPGs from a couple of years ago. We were talking about the Ease games. I know you were thinking about maybe getting the one. I think you'd like them. It's just this one that I'm replaying now. I got it. I think it came out in like 2017. And I played a little bit of it, and I don't think it was the right time for me to be playing it because I got bored really quickly. And now I'm playing it again, and it's very hard to get away from this and play The Last of Us. It's like I'm like addicted to this now. So
The Last of Us.
That and the Ease game, like the two of them. Like I want to play more Last of Us, but it's hard to pull myself away from the RPG. But
yeah, I mean, I know we both just platinumed Concrete Genie. I know we had talked about that game for a long ass time.
Yeah,
that was fun. It was, but it takes a weird ass turn midway through, man.
Yeah, it's totally it's very like you have that childlike sense of wonder just running around painting, and then it becomes an action game.
Yeah, it's actually, we even said this before, it's actually kind of cool. I would actually play that game if it was only the action aspect. I think if they make a second one, there's no way you're gonna be able to do what you did in the first half of that game.
No,
it wouldn't make any sense.
No, I mean, it'd be totally different.
I drew some pretty ugly ass genies in that game, man.
Most of them, I would start to draw them, not realizing that if you wanted the head to be at the top, you had to start at the top, and then I'd start drawing it, and then their head would be down towards the floor, and they would just be these very weird banana-looking creatures, and then I just said, "That's my genie." So.
Yeah, some of them I didn't even put anything on it. I was like, "Here it is." And they all look the same.
Yeah.
Did you
do different colors?
Did you do the VR part?
No, I didn't. I feel like I need to, but I'm kind of avoiding VR right now just because of the fact that my hair is so long. I mean, yours is like the craziest I've ever seen. As I know, like I think my hair is long, and yours is like you're living The Last of Us right now with your hair and beard.
But 100% am.
That's why I can't put a VR headset on right now because it's just too hot with this much hair on my head. It's just I feel like I'm gonna roast, as weird as that sounds. But once I can get a haircut in a couple days, I need to go finish Blood and Truth, and then I might go
behind in that game. I'm so far behind.
I think the last thing I did in that game was there's like a construction site.
I'm at that. Oh, we're at the same spot.
Yeah, I just finished the construction site.
I tried getting into the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, and it's actually really cool how they did the movement in that, because you don't just teleport. You hold like the PlayStation button on the wand, and he kind of moves around. But you can either for the rotating, you can either do like the glide where like you hold I think it's a triangle button and the camera glides.
Okay.
Or you can snap it where it'll just like snap it to the nearest thing. Like the nearest angle will probably adjust it, I don't know, maybe like 15 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
But you can never like line up right because you actually have to swing the wand
to hit something.
I mean,
that's kind of cool though.
I mean, yeah, if I was doing the smooth thing, I was like, dude, I'm gonna get sick playing this. And
that's why.
That's a game, man, where like trial and error is. I watched somebody else talk about it, and they were like, yeah, dude, I had to try it like 4 times just to figure out the first like level, because if you don't do something right away, you miss out on it, and it's like a huge thing.
Right. You just totally miss like a nice chunk of it.
You miss like a really important weapon that you can get like right away.
That's not good.
So
it's probably like a shotgun or something. Something that's not it.
Spoiler.
It's like I was gonna say it's probably a shotgun or something super useful as opposed to like a hammer or like a machete.
It's cool, man. I mean, I'll definitely dive back into it. I didn't play the Iron Man VR demo. I have it. I didn't do it yet though.
My cousin, who got me the VR over Christmas, he played the Iron Man VR, and he said it's actually like legitimately the coolest thing he's ever played in VR. Because you actually, like, when you're holding the wands, Like I'm like trying to get it in the camera. It's like you actually like hold the wands and you like put them back, so it's like you're controlling the wands as if it's the jets on Iron Man's hands on the suit, and you have to like pull them back to like thrust and go forward. Like he said it's a lot of fun, and I think most people say it's like one of the most fun experiences you can get on VR. But I gotta get a haircut, man, and then I can get back to the VR. I'll try the Concrete Genie VR stuff, but I think it's just like you're in a room and painting. Like that's all it is. Like you're just doing it in a 3-dimensional like painting scape room, like landscape. That's really it.
Like after you beat the game, you go into that room with whatever the hell the little what's the heck's the genie's name? Your main genie.
Oh, Luna, the big one.
You go into like that Luna. You found it? You obviously planted it.
Yeah, the secret room. The star room.
I think that's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a giant room where you can just paint in 3 dimensions, like on the ceiling, like it's like almost like you're in like a sphere, and then you can just paint like on every surface. So
yeah, see, I was under the impression that the VR for that game was more like the actual story. So when I watched like a demo, I was like, this is not what I thought the VR was going to be on this, but it was still a fun game. Everyone should check it out. You know, if you have the ability to get it, it's pretty cheap.
I was going to say, I think the sale is, I don't know if the Days of Play sale is still going on or not, but I mean, I got it for, it was like $10 and it was really well, $10, you know, so.
Yeah. I also picked up, what else did I pick? I also picked up Rage 2.
Yeah.
Which, it's an interesting game. It's like, like I said, it's kind of like, it's like Wolfenstein and Doom. And then they have like this weird, like they want to be funny, like Borderlands and like Far Cry, but it just doesn't really work. You know, the open world's pretty cool. It's kind of, I do wish it was third person though, because like you're constantly upgrading. I hate when you upgrade like armor in games and like your appearance, you don't fucking see it. It's like, what's the hell the point of it being, you know, doing all that? So I kind of wish that aspect of it. It's cool. I mean, the game feels heavy. If that makes any sense. Like
in terms of like movement.
Yeah, like it's not like you're not like Borderlands where it's like whipping you all over the place. You know what I mean? It's actually like kind of feels like a heavy game, which is cool.
Okay.
And I picked up Godfall, but I haven't played that yet.
I was gonna say my buddy's actually Greedfall.
Godfall's the new game coming out.
Yeah, my friend Keith is actually, I've noticed the last couple of days he's been playing Greedfall like nonstop. He was also super big into Inquisition when that was out, so it's no wonder that he likes this. And I mean, I want to get it, but I don't feel like now's the right time to play it. Like I feel like I would start to play it and then lose sight of it, and then I'll go back like 6 months from now and start it again. So I'm gonna hold off, I think.
Don't get me started on Inquisition. We all know what happened with me on that one.
You know, it's funny. I was actually just thinking about that the other night. How I think there was a video on IGN where they were talking about how BioWare, like all their studios are working on new next-gen games. And of course, we know there's already a new Dragon Age game being made. When it's going to come out is anyone's best guess. And if it's going to end up being good or not is an even bigger question. But I remember thinking, I remember when Inquisition came out and Camryn got like 3/4 of the way through the game and then decided to start over again because he didn't like how he was swept out.
I did. I was like, I don't like playing as his character anymore. And I was like, wait, I was literally at the end, I think. I think I was at the final thing. I deleted my whole save and everything.
Literally, I think, in terms of, like, story missions, you were maybe, like, 3 or 4 away from beating the entire game. And I was completely dumbfounded about how poor of a decision that was.
Thanks, bro.
It was, dude, I couldn't believe it. Like, I think I had just beaten the game around that time, and I was like, you did what? you blew it, dude. You blew it so hard on that one.
I know. I've restarted that game twice, so maybe one day down the road I'll go back to playing that again, actually trying to finish it. But there's so much other stuff going out anyway. So
I know. Well, that's why I want to do that on like PS5. Like when that comes out, I'm going to go back and play a lot of games again just to see
how it holds up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a good, talking point. I think I sent it to you last week. Was they're currently still in the process of, I guess, reviewing or making sure that 4,000 games will work. Like 4,000 is a lot. I mean, I don't know what the total number of PlayStation 4 games from day one to now are out, but I would say 4,000 is probably a considerable amount. And it's going to be obviously all the biggest games you could think of are probably in that list. And then it just goes into like tiers, I would think, of like obscurity, I guess, after that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, because I know, like I said, like Rage, even Last of Us, like it pushes my PlayStation 4 Pro to Like, this sounds like a freight train in my cabinet, not the cabinet open. I know you said clean it and whatnot, but it's still, it's pumping.
Well, you also have too. You probably have one of the PS4s because I remember maybe 2 years ago or like a year and a half ago, I got a different PS4 Pro. Like I actually used my warranty at GameStop and just said mine was broken, and then went in and swapped it out for another one because they actually had fixed the fans on them. They fixed the fans and the heat sinks on them so that it wasn't as loud. I've been seeing tons of tweets for people playing Last of Us right now, and they're like, my fan sounds like a jet engine. It's the scariest thing in the entire game when you're like walking in a basement and then your fan kicks on and it sounds just like a jet engine. Mine has been like whisper quiet the whole time. So it's just, you have probably one of the older PS4 Pros before they fix the fan, but also you said you've never cleaned yours in the 3 or 4 years that you've owned it. So there's probably dust caked in there. Yeah, and that's why can't breathe. You gotta. I know.
Because I think I got it right when they switched it over. I brought my. I think I even pre-ordered it. I brought my old PlayStation and switched them out, and then came in. It was all pumped up. I remember like putting in. It was like, and Horizon I think was just came out, and I was like, "Yo, this is dope! Like, let me put this in and see how great the graphics were." My buddy was like, "It looks the same." I was like, "Shut the fuck up! You're lying. It doesn't look the same at all."
Yeah. So, hold on. I got to work on this angle on my tablet here. This is so bad. Whoa. That's a little bit better. Okay. I'm just going to shift my weight here.
It's our first episode here, so we're going to have some work in progress.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm also trying to do this on an iPad, and I guess the camera's positioned like in the corner over here, so that's why I have to sit kind of close. But, I'll get there. We'll figure it out.
It's all right. You look good. So
I don't know about that. But I don't know about that.
We have a bunch of stuff we're going to talk about today, but before we get into that, Matt, what do you got from the news corner? Anything fun, exciting?
Probably the biggest news story this week that I can think of is they just announced Nintendo did or maybe not Nintendo. I don't know if it was a Nintendo Direct, but it was like a Pokemon company did a little live show, and they announced that they're making a new Pokemon Snap game, which was like, I a little tear in my eye from all the nostalgia of being a kid and having that on my N64 and absolutely loving that. So, I'll definitely be getting that just to have a fun, a little peaceful game to play that doesn't involve me just having to kill things. So
I know. What's weird about Pokemon Snap? I remember like the one for 64. I think I beat that in a day, and I think back then it probably took me like, I don't know, 5 hours. Seemed like an eternity. But I bet you that game now, I bet you that game's easily like a 2-hour game.
Probably. I wouldn't expect it would be something that's going to take you long. I mean, it's just like, I just want to get it because it's just, and I mean, it's definitely not just a remake of the one from when we were kids. It's like, there's like all the hundreds and hundreds of new Pokemon in there. So there's things that I've never seen that are in this one, but just being on an island, sitting in a little cart, taking pictures and shit again is going to be, it's going to be fun. So
that was on rails, wasn't it?
$60. Yeah, and the new one is too. It's basically like you're just sitting on like a little, like a mine cart almost, and you're just slowly moving through the area, and you look in the bushes and you see something over there, or you're like, now you can go like out on the water and you're like on a little boat version of the cart thing, and it's like you see the whales and stuff. But
yeah, that was good. I remember beating that game in a day at a time, trying to get like all the little collectibles on it, and it'll be interesting to see what it looks like. I mean, hopefully they do something cool with the controller in the retrospect of that, and it's not, you're not just like whatever, but who knows with Nintendo.
I was going to say, I could see them because, I mean, the Switch technically has motion controls. I could see you, holding the Switch and kind of like moving it around to take pictures, but that would also maybe kind of suck if you're just sitting down and you've got to like try to turn around in your seat and like look behind you. I mean, it's not like a VR experience. I mean, I can get kind of cumbersome, but I just hope it's not $60 and it's going to end up being a $60 game, I'm sure, because that's just what Nintendo does.
I know that they were talking about something. I forget where I read it. Who said maybe it is Pokemon Snap. I don't think you can use a Pro Controller on it. There's a game. There's a game they just announced that you can't use the Pro Controller. You have to use the Joy-Cons, which is strange to me.
What game would that be?
Because you can't. I remember they said you can't play it on the Switch Lite because the Joy-Cons need to come off.
Interesting.
I don't know.
I don't know what that would be. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, I don't remember what the game was, what they were referencing, but it's gonna drive me nuts now. And I have to look it up and we'll have to talk about it next time. But I thought that was a really strange decision for Nintendo to do that.
Yeah, because that kind of, you could have a game that everybody can play, and then you're self-limiting by just saying, you can only play it if you very specifically have this version of the Switch. And I feel like the Switch Lite actually ended up selling a lot more, since it came out than just the original Switches have.
Everything was sold out.
I mean, everything is still sold out right now, but that was because the plague struck and everybody was at home and they said, I need something to do. I mean, my cousin did that. Him and his fiance were like, well, we need something else to do. And then they just bought a Switch and like 5 games and they love it. But I did read that on Reddit the other day that Nintendo's kind of caught up. So it's not going to be hard to get a Switch or Joy-Cons or games, anything coming up. So, which is good.
I think they're still sold out at that Ring Fit. I was trying to find that when it came out. And I was like, dude, people are selling it online for fucking like $300.
Well, that's what I'm experiencing because my Switch is one of the ones from like a launch day Switch, and I'm finally now starting to experience drift in my left Joy-Con. Yeah, it's starting to do it. Like when Animal Crossing came out, I noticed like all of a sudden my character would just start walking around the map by himself. And I said, okay, I need to get some new Joy-Cons. And then, of course, I said, okay, let me go on Amazon. I pull up Amazon, and it's like there's just some random mom and pop shops on there selling it like partially used for like $175. And I was like, I can wait.
Yeah,
I can definitely wait and pay because I think normally they're like $80, which isn't that bad. But I'm not paying almost $200 for used ones just to get rid of the drift.
Yes, yeah, Steph's still playing Animal Crossing.
I mean, I'm playing it like semi-often. A friend of mine just got a Switch recently, and she was like, hey, you gotta like come visit my island. And I said, okay, it'll be something to do. But I think in the coming weeks, the next Switch game I'm going to get is a new Paper Mario because I love those games. They're
that one's throwing me for a loop. I need to see how that looks first.
Did you ever play them back in the day?
Yeah, I played both of them.
Oh, so then what? You played Paper Mario 64 and then the 1,000-Year Door on GameCube?
Yeah, and the 1,000-Year Door drove me nuts.
Really? That one was fun. And then they did the one on the Wii, which was Super Paper Mario, which was just okay. Then they did Sticker Star on the 3DS, which was absolute garbage. And I think everyone who's ever played those games, everyone agrees that was literally the worst game they ever made.
What's the one where you're going between different worlds? Is that the 1,000-Year Door? There's one that it's like changing.
Well, you always kind of go between different like areas, but I think maybe you're talking about the one where you're switching from 2D and 3D. Because that would have been Super Paper Mario, where you're like, it looks like you're playing the old Mario.
Yeah,
like,
that was what I'm talking about.
And then you switch the orientation, and then it's like you're like moving down a tunnel, but it's just that world in 3D.
That was what I was referencing. And that one gave me a headache.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But, that'll be interesting. And that comes out, what, next?
So I got to double check that. I think it comes out like 2 days or like just a few days either before or after Ghost of Tsushima. So there's going to be 2 games coming out right within a few days of each other. That'll be good. I'm very excited for Ghost.
That's actually something I wanted to talk about a little bit. I know also EA had their little press conference thing the other day where they were talking about Skate 4, which they didn't show anything. They just kind of said, hey, we're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they finally gave into fan service on that one. I never really played the skate games, but I know everybody who likes skateboarding games have said that the skate games are like the best. They're a lot of fun. So a lot of people are getting what they want, at least with Skate 4 being announced. But if it ends up being good is totally other question.
Yeah, it was either like you were a Skate fan or you were a Tony Hawk fan. Like, I think if you played Skate, you didn't like Tony Hawk. And look, Tony Hawk's like an arcade game. You jump up like 1,000 feet, hit a button, he does something stupid, But, I mean, I'll be playing the new one coming out, the remaster, whatever the hell you want to call this damn thing they're doing again.
Tony Hawk 1 and 2.
Yeah, for like the second time they're doing that.
Oh, for sure. I will definitely be picking that up as well because I loved those games as a kid myself. So, I mean, and I think that one's going to it's not going to be a full price game either. I think it's only going to be $30 or $40, which is good.
It shouldn't be. And speaking of $30 and $40, they also announced Squadron, which, you had said is...
Yeah, that's I think
5v5? 5v5?
Yeah, 5v5 or 6v6. There's a couple different modes. They've got I think there's some sort of campaign style mode, and then they've got, I think, an arcade kind of style. And then there's like the dog fighting multiplayer mode. And it honestly... EA gets a lot of shit because they do a lot of really stupid things that are not well received. But this is actually, I mean, apart since, even though it was done by Respawn, but like Fallen Order was a really fun Star Wars game and a lot of people liked it. This game actually looks like a lot of fun. I know you took issue with some things about it, like the no fast travel and
that was actually a topic I wanted to talk about one day. It was like games that we didn't really like, but everybody loved, and I think I would get a lot of hate for that because I was not a fan of that game. Like you said, the fast travel instantly threw me out. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not really a big Star Wars guy anyway. I mean, I ripped through Battlefront just because
Right.
I was on a thing of seeing how many games I could beat during this quarantine. I think I'm at 14.
But that's a short campaign, though. That's only like 5 hours or something like that, or like 6 hours. It's really not long. Yeah.
And I think if they do, the thing that's weird about Squadron is it's only first person.
It is, which I'm going to be honest with you, I wouldn't want it. I don't know if I'd want it to be third person. I mean, I've played all the old games they had where they did like Rogue Squadron, and even in like Battlefront 2 where they have like the third person mode. It's fun, but I think if they're only going to be sticking to first person, that kind of gives it that extra authentic feel. Because like one of the things you can do, which I think is just a fun little idea, you can customize your cockpit. Like there's like the one scene where they're showing it in the guide, like there's like the little dice hanging from the, like just like where it would be like, I guess, your rear view mirror, but like you can customize your cockpit. Like you're basically getting a ship and you're fully customizing it. You're tweaking like your engines, you're tweaking all various aspects of the ship. So I think that's actually kind of cool. And it's going to make a lot of people really happy. Like, and I think they said there's no microtransactions. The VR, I think, is going to make a lot of people throw up because 100%. If you're doing that strictly, because there was the VR for Battlefront 2, it was like X-Wing. It was like VR. It was like X-Wing mission or something like that. And
I didn't try it. I didn't know that.
Oh man, it's going to make you queasy because you're constantly like swinging your head, like looking around because you're, just in a dogfight. So I don't know how much I'll be playing in VR. I don't think my brain is ready for that yet.
Yeah, the big thing with VR that throws me off is when I was playing The Walking Dead, the freaking wire from the PlayStation to the actual
headset. It comes down.
Yeah, I was like swinging around. I hit it. I knocked my coffee on my white carpet. A cat was like in my way. I'm like, dude, like I can't see you. I'm trying to like swing at something. Hopefully they fix that. I know the Oculus, what is it? The Oculus, the wireless one, the Rift.
The most expensive one, I think, is the one that has. Yeah, it's just got the two little hand things and then no cables. You just put the helmet on and that's it.
Yeah, and that's genius. I mean, I don't think it's the most powerful, though, at all. I don't think it keeps up to the one that you actually... I forgot the hell the name of it is. And I'm drawing a blank on the top of my head. But I know that the one that you actually have to use a PC for is definitely more... probably has better, CPUs and whatnot because it's using physical hardware.
I mean, that's why I don't think any... I mean, obviously, some of them are better than others, but I really don't think VR's fully there yet. Like I think we're starting to hit a stride with it, but I don't think it's really going to take off and be, in every single home for at least a couple more years. Like that's why PlayStation VR is as popular as it is because it's affordable. You're getting a pretty good product and you're not breaking the bank to get it. But also, when I'm playing Blood and Truth, I'm looking at it and I'm like, the graphics don't look so good, but like the story's there and the gameplay is, the shooting is fun and all that stuff, but it's not perfect yet. So
I mean, visually, like looking through it, they probably could use some tweaks. Like I get it. You can like readjust like where the center of your eye is and all that stuff and make the little adjustments that way to make it clear. But it's still like if you look like the littlest bit off center, you could tell it gets a little blurry and almost looks like it looks like someone smeared it and there's really nothing on it. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that. Mm-hmm. And how they make those little adjustments. Especially going forward with the new PlayStation. Which do you like the look of it? The PS5.
I honestly I like it. It's very in terms of just whenever they do these console reveals, you're always like, oh my god, what's it going to look like? And then that initial reaction says it all. And I know plenty of people are looking at it like, Jesus Christ, this thing is fucking huge, but I don't care ultimately how big a console is. It could be as big as this, my iPad, which is tiny, but it needs to be able to perform well. And I know that this console is going to be, it's essentially the closest, this generation, not just for PlayStation, but PlayStation and Xbox, these consoles are the closest thing console gamers are ever going to have gotten to a gaming PC without actually getting a gaming PC.
You think so?
Absolutely. I mean, just when they talk about the hardware and the specs of both of them, it's crazy how powerful these things are compared to just what we've got now. Like, it's like night and day. But with the design of the PS5, the reason why and they've just been talking about it a lot lately because they're responding to people talking online, is the reason why it is as big as it is because they said you can't have something be small and be cool all the time. So you're talking about how your PS4 Pro is the fan's whipping up and it's getting hot and it sounds like a jet engine. Well, they put a lot of time and effort into this console and building it in such a way that it's not going to make as much noise. I'm sure there's going to be times when you're playing games on the PS5 and you're going to hear the fan going, but it's not going to be deafeningly loud like, these pros can be. But that's all about the size. They said they had to build it in a way that it could properly ventilate and cool itself, and that's why it's just as big as it is. That picture, so I sent you the other day and I think you put it up on the on the Instagram story. The first PS5 was built. I mean, the picture looks real. I don't see any reason why someone would have faked that, but you can see the guy holding it in the picture, and I'd say he's probably about my height, so he's like 5'6", and he's holding it up to his chest, and it's basically from like his collarbone to his navel, so you can tell that's easily like 15 or 16 inches tall.
Yeah, they gave the specs on it the other day. It's weird. I think it's taller than the Xbox, but it's thinner, obviously. But it's like the specs of it were strange. I mean, but then you're taking into consideration that disk drive, and I was listening to someone talk about this before. I think it was the Kind of Funny Games cast. I think they were talking about like, or whatever the hell, maybe GameScoop, but they were saying how like the disk drive is like it's a huge chunk on the side of it, and they were talking like, are you going to go diskless or with the disk drive? And
the disk drive adds easily, like it just, when you're trying to eyeball it, you're trying to like estimate it until they release the full, actual dimensions of it. You're kind of just guessing based on putting it alongside of other pictures of consoles. But I think that the disk drive on the side of it adds like at least another inch and a quarter on, which is easily pretty considerable when you're trying to talk about when you have people who are saying, hey, I want to get this console, but I've got all this, here's where my TV's kept, and here's all the shelves that I've got. I need to know the dimensions to know if this is going to be sitting on my shelf. Is it going to lay horizontally? Is it going to stand vertically? How is it going to go? But adding an extra inch and a half laying, so that would be then the thickness of it. But I think I saw on Amazon there was the French like Amazon page for the PlayStation 5, and they had the dimensions and it was in like millimeters. So I was like trying to be like, okay, this is real. Let me convert it, and it was like, it's like 15 and a half inches. If it's standing vertically, it's like 15 and a half inches tall. It's like 4 inches wide, and then it's like 10 or 11 inches deep. So it's going to be pretty big. But I don't know. I have my PlayStation 4 lies horizontally. I am almost definitely not going to be able to fit it in that space. Like, I might have to stand this thing up alongside of my like television console, like a computer tower, because that's basically what it's going to be now.
Yeah, no, they also, someone released in another, maybe it was, I forget where it was, they had released like a, obviously like a leak, they said, of like the pricing of it, and it was like euros maybe. And when they translated it to like American dollars, I think it was like something crazy, like $700. And I was like, there's no way.
There's no way. I mean, you also got to take into consideration too. I think I know which one you're talking about. I think it was either again on the French, like the French Amazon page, or it was on like a German one or something like that. And it was like 699 euros, which is expensive. No question, that's expensive. But the price of the console isn't the same in every country because they have different taxes and like, just bringing things into the country, they have to raise the cost of it because it's going to be so much, just adding in that extra cost. But like for us, I don't see it being that much more than $500. Like, I think $600 is as much as they could possibly ask for it. And that's still a stretch.
Yeah.
It would turn a lot of people off, but people like me, I'm not going to be swayed by that. I'm going to get it anyways. I mean, if they said it was $700, I want it. I'll get it. But I think $700 would turn most people away, most consumers away. $600, you're kind of teetering on the edge. I think most people kind of agree, like, I would be willing to pay $500 for it. Like, when I go on Reddit on the PS5 subreddit, everyone says, yeah, like $500 is good. I mean, obviously, if it's less than $500, no one's going to bat an eyelash because the PS4 when it came out was $400, and that was pretty reasonable. It was $100 cheaper than the Xbox One. So,
well, you also have to take into consideration that you have, like I said before, disc and discless.
Dickless.
Yeah. So you figure, okay, if I'm getting the all digital one, we'll go all digital. It sounds nicer. And then, or the one that has the disc drive. You know, what's the price difference going to come in at? Is that disc drive costing them only $10, $20 to put in? So now you're looking at like a $50 difference, or are we looking at $500 with the drive, $400 without? That's the other thing too that you got to look at, because I know Xbox is coming out with the 2 different versions, and they named the smaller one. I don't remember what the hell they named it, which they quoted. I think they said it was going to be like around $350. I don't know if that's accurate at all.
If they're doing, if Xbox is launching the Series X at $350, they're doing it purely then they're going to subsidize the cost of it in the hopes that it's just going to draw everyone to them and then away from PlayStation, and then they'll make it up with the games. I mean, that's what Sony did last time. Sony waited for the pricing on the Xbox One. They said what it was. They came in under. It cost Sony at launch $382 to make a PlayStation 4 launch console, and they sold it for $400. So they were only making about $18 a console, but then they were making everything back with their games. So someone was speculating with, if they want to kind of hit it and still not, make a profit, it's going to have to be about $500, because I think they said it cost. I think someone estimated it at like $475 for them to make it. So that's why it's got to be $500. Otherwise, they're selling it at a complete loss. But then that means that they know and they're comfortable with like their accessories, their VR, and their games, that they'll make enough money to bounce back. Like most of these people, you're at the first year or so, you're kind of selling it at a loss anyway. It's like you're not making back your investment in terms of like research and development on making one of these things. You're not making that money back for a while.
And I'm wondering if that $475 is including the disc drive.
I think it does. So a disc drive, it's funny. Sony makes their own disc drives. So in terms of their cost, I think it's their own. They're using their own Blu-ray disc drives in these things, and I think it costs them like $24. But here's also the funny part too: the disc drives that are used in the Xbox One or the Xbox One and Series X are made by Sony. So even when an Xbox One or a Series X gets sold, their disc drives, Sony makes money off of their consoles anyways, because they're getting money back for their own disc drives. So their disc drives are fucking everywhere. But I think I think the all digital version could be cheaper, but I would say it's probably not going to be more than $50 cheaper. $100 would be aggressive. But I think an easy way to make it the same price would be to say that, because I think the hard drive on the PS5 it's like 825 gigs, but it's an SSD, which is still pretty good. I know some people are complaining that they're like, why isn't it a full terabyte or 2 terabytes? But I think a good way to balance the cost would be you have you have the disc-based one that's $499, 825 gig SSD, and then you have an all digital one, no disc drive, but it's got a 1 terabyte SSD. You just balance the difference in, you take the disc drive out, you give them more memory, and then it's the same cost. I think it's
genius. Yeah, I think that's really smart. I mean, because you have Xbox with the Series X that's going to be doing their online service is supposed to be free with it. The Xbox, whatever the hell they call that stupid thing, and I'm not an Xbox guy, so I really don't follow too much on it.
Oh, are you talking smart delivery? Is that one?
No, the Xbox Online service. You get all the games.
Xbox Live?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, there's Xbox Live. Xbox Games Pass, I think is what you're talking about.
So, because you have PlayStation Now, which I was looking into it, but again, my PlayStation is not hardwired in. And as you were saying, like if you're not running hardwired directly to internet, that PS Now, like I tried playing Alpha Protocol just to see how bad it actually was, and that game was like, I was like, okay, either A, my connection sucks, or B, this game is just bad.
Or a combination of both. And it was definitely both. No, I mean, PlayStation Now is a lot better now, no pun intended, than it was when it first came out. Like when it first came out, it was a fucking train wreck because they didn't have a lot of games, and you'd pay the subscription, and then when you wanted to play a game, you essentially had to wait in a queue to be able to play it. So if too many people were trying to play that one game, you had to wait to play that game that you just paid a subscription for, which was stupid. Now it's definitely much better. But if you don't have a wireless connection that's like 200 megs a second, it's not going to work for you. You have to have a solid, like, hardline connection so you're not dropping out. If your internet dips down, you lose the connection, you might have lost all your progress. Like, I don't really know fully how it works, but
it's a good idea.
It is in theory, and I hope they maybe perfect it with PlayStation 5.
Yeah, because I know the Game Pass, they've done a really good job with that at Microsoft. I know a lot of people like it. You know, the Microsoft exclusives pretty much get on it right away, essentially. Yeah. So, which again, that's interesting. That's probably a topic we could probably explore, is like by putting a first party game directly on a Game Pass like a PlayStation Now. What are you losing? You're relying on somebody that's paying, however much it is a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, and a subscription fee for that one game. Are you making money on it? Maybe if obviously they're keeping that subscription for 3 months, then you're going to pay it no different than if they bought it, digitally or physical. But
right,
who knows?
And that's, I mean, this whole next gen thing. I've been kind of mulling the idea, which one of these would I go with? The PS5? Would I get the physical? What I keep calling it the physical one or the digital one because the discs. But I mean, I really don't buy anything physical anymore. I think I bought a couple of months ago. I bought Control when that came out. Like a month or two after it was out, there was a flash sale on Amazon, and the game was like $30. And I said, all right, I don't know when it's going to be this cheap digitally. So I said, screw it. And I bought it physically. But that was the first game in probably a year or more that I bought physically. I just don't do it. So, I know the argument with going totally digital is that you could, if somebody decides to drop the license for a game, like if Sony decides one day, hey, you know what, I'm just going to take The Last of Us 2. We're going to take it off the PlayStation Store. We're not going to sell it to anybody anymore. I can't play that game.
Yeah, that's weird.
I paid for it. I paid the license fee, by buying the game, but then they completely control it. But, that's not going to happen. They're never going to remove a game like that and just say, okay, well, no one can buy this anymore. I don't see any reason why they would do that. But I mean, I exclusively play digital games. That's what I do. So I'm more than likely just going to get the digital one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll buy the Blu-ray DVDs every now and then, just to have it. If I want like a physical copy, I have the somewhere the Batman 80th collection up there still on the.
I see it up sealed. There. It's staring at me.
Sealed. Yeah, it's still sealed. So I'm the same. I don't know what I'm going yet. I'm not gonna know until I walk in and I say, okay, get me this.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think I don't have a lot of physical games. Maybe I have 10, if that.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, two of the physical games I have is GTA 5, which obviously is getting ported again, which is going to be,
and you'll get it for free. So if you've already played it at any point, you will get GTA 5 for free.
I think it's only online.
No, well, online is becoming its own separate thing. Apparently, like they're like cutting the conjoined twins in half with this, and then are going to be two separate entities. They're not going to be the same thing anymore. So it's like, if you just want to play GTA 5, you can play GTA 5. If you want to play online, it's a totally separate app. And I actually think that's kind of a good thing because, granted, with the consoles now, like loading from just playing GTA 5 to playing GTA Online takes forever. So if it's two separate apps, I think that'll be much better, because some people only want to play online. Some people just want to play the game. But you've already owned GTA 5. I own GTA 5 digital. I will get am I going to go back and play it again? Maybe, maybe not. But it's free. I'm going to have it anyways.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's interesting that they're supporting GTA 5 the way they are. When Red Dead came out 2 years ago now, and that online is just not. I mean, every now and then I see something, but it's not as good as GTA.
Yeah, no, it's definitely better than it was at launch. Like it came out of the gate like with a broken leg, and they've definitely fixed it to what I've heard, but I haven't gone back to it, and I think that was really like a big disappointment. But people still like GTA Online. I mean, if sometimes you just want to unwind, go in a game, drive a car into a wall, and blow shit up. I can't really blame people for wanting to unwind that way. I mean, it's still fun. I haven't played it in a long time, but I might play it again.
There's more to do, and like that they can add to GTA. Like, you're not gonna have a car to Red Dead Online. Nobody can have like a train. or like a Model T, something weird like that, and jump time. Like I don't know, like you can't do that. You know, and even when it comes to like the guns in that game, like in Red Dead, like you could have played that game with your starting weapon and never ever changed your firearm, and not like I get it, they gave each gun like a stat, but that stat didn't do a damn thing in that game.
No, essentially, as long as you maintained the maintenance of your gun was the thing that made it good. You know, because as time went by and you had cleaned your guns, they would your accuracy goes down, the damage goes down, then you just polish it up, and then all of a sudden it's back to like one-shotting people. So, I mean, just really like, I mean, I did like some parts of the story of that game, and just visually it was very appealing, but I think they did a lot of things wrong with that game, and I hope they've learned a very powerful lesson, because I know they're already working on GTA 6, so the pressure is going to be really hard on them to not fuck that up.
Yeah, because I think the big thing with Red Dead for me was, I thought it was way too long.
Painfully long.
And I thought you could have, I don't want to talk about spoilers in case anyone hasn't played it 2 years later, but you could have cut out
the epilogue.
The epilogue could have been gone, and the island.
100%.
The island. I'm just going to say the island. When you go to the island, that whole 5 hours was so unnecessary. Do I think it did anything to the story? All it did was made me get back to the mainland and have to ride on my horse for 15 minutes listening to that song, and I couldn't freaking fast travel or skip. And it was just like, I think I literally put the controller down, walked in the other room, did something, came back, and he was still on the horse with the song playing. So, and again, when that game too, not having fast travel, it's just like Fallen Order. Didn't have the fast travel. Do I think that Fallen Order would have had my attention 100% if it had fast travel? Yes. Do I think that Red Dead Redemption 2 would have had my attention way better if there was better fast travel? 100%. It was a huge map. It was a huge world. There's a lot of shit that I thought was cool and I would have liked to see, but dude, I didn't want to be on that horse for that long.
And see, I guess that's just poor design, I guess. I mean, not having fast travel, but I mean, I guess that's a good segue in terms of, loading. Yeah. I think that's going to be, I've just been reading since the PlayStation Showcase. It'll be 2 weeks ago this week, like 2 weeks this Thursday, it would have happened.
Had the most gaming views on YouTube, they said. But here's the 1.1 million people watching it once. So
then here's one other little tidbit too. Yeah, it's the most watched video like Sony's ever put up, or like most like watched video game kind of thing that isn't like some Let's Play or whatever. Can't say I'm surprised. But they did apparently the Miles Morales trailer was taken down on a copyright strike from some random asshole company. Said that it was like infringing on their copyright, and the video I think at this point is still taken down. It had like however many millions of views, and it was copyright striked. Really? And I guess Sony's like about to load up the gun and go after these people, because it's like, what are you copyright striking? This is legitimately, this has nothing to do with you. It was like some totally random company. But since the show came out, a lot of the developers who had their trailers shown have been kind of coming out and saying that one of their favorite fucking things about this new console, and it's probably going to end up being my favorite thing too, is just no load screens. Yeah, like I'm still skeptical of that. Like I don't believe it, because I've never had a point in my life where there were no load screens. There's always been some kind of loading point in a game, and then when they're talking about like Horizon Zero,
I'm ignoring you.
Oh, you're ignoring me now?
No, okay, I'm looking at, I want to get all the showcase games that they had, because I forget there's so many at the show. That's
okay. That's why there was a lot of like down. Yeah, the two biggest ones that they did, because they do like the showcase trailer, and then they have like a little separate video where like the creative directors for these games are talking, and they had the two that I've seen so far were for Horizon Zero Dawn and Ratchet and Clank, and they were both talking about how like in Horizon Zero Dawn now, because the map's even bigger than it ever was, they said it spans from like Utah to basically San Francisco. So that's a huge part of the United States that it's going to be covering. But they said, previously in the first one, you'd go to fast travel. That takes the loading time. Now they're like, you pick one point, you're like, okay, I want to go here. You fast travel, you're like immediately snap of a finger back in the action. Like there is no such thing as a load time in that game. And then with Ratchet and Clank, you saw in the trailer, like he's like falling through different dimensions. Like he's like walking, and then he's in like a pirate ship, and then he walks through like a portal and he's in another dimension. they're saying that the developers for Ratchet and Clank were like, we couldn't do this without the hardware of the PS5. It essentially cuts out loading times to the point where they're like, you'll be walking around in levels and cross into multiple different dimensions in one level, and it's just so seamless because there's no loading. You don't have to say I'm going to a different planet or a different world and then it takes a minute to load it. You just walk into a new world. Like, I think that's going to be the game changer, even for Xbox too, because I think Xbox even said too, like there's going to be no load times on their games. I think that's going to change a lot of shit for a lot of people. Gaining that extra time back.
Yeah, 100%. Because I know that even that Ratchet and Clank game, when they showed it, and here's my big thing I had. I think I've said this to you multiple times. The current gen consoles graphically are really good. It's unbelievable. So when I saw Ratchet and Clank, whether that's going to be on both PS4 or if it's just on PS5, I don't think they really actually said yet. The game looks just like the PlayStation 4 Ratchet and Clank when they redid it, when it was kind of following the movie.
I'll say you need to watch that trailer again, and you need to watch it in 4K, because if you do pay attention, I watched a side-by-side of the trailer for the remake in 2016 and this one. It looks kind of the same, but in terms of the graphical fidelity and the crispness, he looks better. He's more polished. He looks...
Because I watched it streaming live. So I watched it from the live stream, and obviously the stream, they even said, I think they actually even said, like, hey, after the stream, go back and watch everything when it's actually in 4K on YouTube or whatever it is.
You need to, because the Horizon Zero Dawn trailer, too, someone pointed it out on Reddit, and I couldn't believe it, because they had like a very zoomed-in picture of Aloy, and it was her face, like in a profile view, and someone said, I thought it was a really bad image of like her, and it was like fuzzy around the edges of like her chin and her face, and they were like, it's not that the image is fuzzy because of the picture quality. They're like, it's actually like the tiny little like baby hairs on a person's face, like the tiny little, like you'd say like peach fuzz, like you can actually see like the peach fuzz on her face. Like they're like, no, it's not poor quality, it's just that's the fidelity that you get now. So no, I think I mean the new Ratchet and Clank looks the same but very different at this at the same time. Like, definitely watch it in 4K again, and you'll see the graphics are definitely better.
Because it's also tough to say. It's a game that's cartoony. It kind of looks like almost like a Pixar type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it has
exactly.
That type of
it doesn't have to look realistic. Yeah, I want it to look. I don't need it to look realistic. Like, if I want realistic, I'll go play The Last of Us 2, which is like mind blowing with some of the fidelity, like of like watching, because it's not a spoiler because it happens in like the first 30 seconds of the fucking game. It's like there's like someone's playing a guitar, and like it's like you can see like you're actually like that actually looks like someone's playing a guitar. Like, it doesn't look like someone's faking playing a guitar in a video game. It actually looks like someone's playing a guitar.
And the transition between like gameplay and cutscenes in that game are almost seamless.
There's no defining like you have the letterbox and then it goes into gameplay. It's like totally seamless. So
yeah, I mean, staying on the topic of the PlayStation Showcase, the big game, that big game everyone's talking about is Bug Snacks. And I don't know, man. I think the song is annoying.
The song is annoying, but everybody liked. I mean, if you want a really goofy game to play, their other game from that came out at launch on the PS4 was Octodad, and that was just really bizarre and just over the top, stupid, but it was hilarious at the same time. And everyone's raving about Bug Snacks because it's just you get to customize your own little creatures and then eat them.
Yeah, it was like the most bizarre thing. I mean, they definitely showed a lot of big things. I would say, for me, in the standpoint, I said to you before, I thought Godfall was like what Two Human tried to be. So it'll be interesting to see what that's all about. I know I had high hopes for Two Human back when that came out. You even said you had high hopes for Two Human when that first came out. And I
think everybody did, and it was a total dumpster fire.
That was supposed to be a trilogy. Obviously, they nixed that one real quick. But the thing that kind of surprised me was Ghostwire Tokyo. I thought this was a third-person game.
I thought it would be too, and then apparently it's a first person game where it's like a cross between Naruto and like Doctor Strange with like the hand magic symbols.
I was kind of surprised by that. I was like, this is not what I thought, because we both played obviously Evil Within. Yeah, which if you haven't played,
I thought it would have been more like that.
Yeah, and if you haven't played Evil Within, skip the first one. Trust me,
go
skip the first
straight
one.
to the second one. Yeah, you can Cliff's Notes the first one. It's okay.
Yeah, but I was under the impression like, okay, this game actually, when I first saw it, they released the trailer last year, I think, on E3. I was like, oh, this looks actually pretty cool. Like, whatever.
It's a cool concept.
And then when I saw the gameplay, I was like, this is not what I thought it was. So I'm kind of turned the other way on it now. I'm not too.
I was gonna say, I think though, I was talking with some friends the other day. I think the one thing that I feel like they're leading up to with that is that it's gonna be VR compatible. I can see that game being very VR compatible, but the way that it looked when they were moving around, it almost looked like it was on rails. And if that's the case, I think that's going to be a major down point for it. I don't think people are going to be as interested in hunting demons that way and walking through alleys. Like at that point, just do a new House of the Dead game where you're walking around with the gun. Just do that and people will dig it. But I think I don't know. I'm glad people are trying new stuff, but I kind of pump the brakes on that one big time. And I'll be just watching from afar now.
Yeah, I was disappointed in it. I thought, I know you're big on Deathloop right now. You were kind of had your eyes out on
Deathloop.
Yeah.
Deathloop. Not Deathloop.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned. You mentioned it before. You're big. You were constantly. The one where you're like the assassin. You die, and there's like 8 different assassins, and you're trying to.
I think it's a cool concept. I'm still not 100% convinced with that game. And that's a Bethesda one, right?
Yeah.
Or Arcane Studios? Yeah, I don't know, man. With everything
Arcane Studios.
Yeah, and that's why they made Dishonored, they made Prey. So I think it's an interesting concept, but I'm still not 100% convinced with that game either. Honestly, my biggest takeaway from the show was Demon Souls.
Look, I struggled through Neo 2, and I said to myself, I think we said if I beat Donkey Kong for the Switch, Tropical Freeze, which I did, while I was taking a shit, if anyone wants to know what I was doing, but I beat that. And then I went into Neo 2, and I broke my old Apple iPhone. I broke it because I got so mad at that game. I threw the controller and smashed my iPhone, and then the camera didn't work. So, will I be dipping into Demon Souls? Probably not. Do I respect people that play it? 120%. Do I think Bloodborne looks cool? Would I love to be able to play that game? Absolutely. But I don't want to break another phone.
No,
Bloodborne is the one game that I want to play, but I don't think
I told you if you ever want to man up and you want to get Sekiro and you want to beat Sekiro, I will buy you the collector's edition of Cyberpunk 2077, or I will buy you the most ridiculously fancy congratulatory dinner if you can play that game and beat it, because that will be the biggest challenge of any of those games, because Dark Souls from what, Sekiro? Yeah, I took a year off because of the time that it came out. Yeah, because I got it, and then 3 days later I lost my job and I was unemployed for 3 months, so I was in a bit of a depression. And then I just picked it up back in February of this year, and I started totally fresh, and I beat that game in a week.
Yeah, you ripped through it. So I remember when you beat it, I
destroyed that game.
Killed that one.
Demolished that game. So it's hard. It's the hardest one because it's the one where you have to just be good, because there's no summoning an ally to come and help you.
Yeah,
you have to, just you.
Yeah, I don't know. And I know you could beat. I know they said you could go and just beat that game right away, which I would never try to do. I think you can just beeline right away. I think you just beeline to the end.
You can literally, you can start that game and, because there's 5 different endings or 4 different endings to it. You can literally start the game and just fucking straight up haul ass to the main castle in the game, climb up to the top of the castle, and then you basically are no, I want to be a bad guy. You kill this person, you kill that person, ending. So you can beat it. I think speedrunners have done it in less than an hour. So
that's impressive. But that's not fun in the world. No,
it's true. Yeah, they're jumping through walls and shit. They're rolling through just doors that you can't open. It's crazy. But I don't know why. I don't. That's another topic for another day. Is my thoughts on speedrunning. But
yeah,
I can rant on speedrunning for days. But no, Demon Souls looks good. The remake, very very excited about that. It's a long overdue remake. Sure, there are going to be a lot of quality of life changes. So that's that one. And then I think for you, I remember you texting me, your biggest thing was fucking Resident Evil 8. You were like, holy shit. And I was like, I know exactly what he's talking about. And meanwhile, I'm driving home from work, and I was like, I know exactly what he's talking about, because my cousin called me and was like, dude, did you see that? I'm like, no, everybody needs to shut up. I have to watch it when I get home. So,
am I disappointed that Did I think that's what it was? No. When I first saw it, I was like, this looks like Resident Evil, but what are they doing here? And then when they just put the village, I was like, no, they're not. And there's like Resident Evil. Like, okay, fine. I think you're playing as Ethan still. I think they said, which, dude, I don't know. I mean, that, and even Resident Evil 7, man, that game was really good until like the last 3/4 of it when you kind of go onto the boat, and I was kind of like, what?
Oh, that is legitimately the hardest part of that game to me, because they put you in a position where they're like, you think you've been scared because you only have a couple bullets to fight these things or whatever. Well, we're going to put you in a place that's filled with shit that's trying to kill you, and you have no weapons, and you have to try to fight back. That was a very irritating part of that game to me. And then it gets better after that, though.
I mean, the end boss of that game was a joke. The final fight
that was essentially the equivalent of the last boss in the Evil Within 1, which I know we've had a lot of rant sessions about. Yes. That was like the worst fucking thing about that game. But no, I mean, I like where they're going with it. I mean, at first I thought it was like, this is how they're remaking Resident Evil 4, because, okay, it's in some country in the middle of nowhere and it's a village and it's like, oh shit. But I think that's going to be its own remake, like they've been doing with 2 and 3. But they're going like, what is it now? Some kind of virus that's out there, and it turns people into werewolves and vampires and shit. Like, it almost looks like Van Helsing meets Resident Evil.
Yeah, and like
I'm all about it.
Well, then I'm all about it. Is at the end, they show Chris, which, and who knows? They could be taking this and like, maybe this is like a new universe, quote quote. Like, maybe this isn't following the same storylines and the same characters from Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, and 4, even 5, because this Chris does not look like the Chris that's in Resident Evil 5 or Resident Evil 6.
Well, so you can't just go off that, though, because Chris has literally looked different in every single Resident Evil game they've ever made, and it's like an ongoing joke in the community, where it's like, in the first Resident Evil game, Chris looked like a normal kind of like, handsome looking 20-something-year-old dude. And then in Resident Evil 5, he was a dude that was built like a brick shithouse and punched boulders. Like he like moved like he literally could physically move like an 8,000-pound boulder. Like it was no problem. And then now he just looks like just a big normal-ish looking dude again. And then I guess at the end of that trailer, he's putting bullets in Ethan's wife. Like, I think they have a baby or something. He's like shooting his wife or whatever.
So. Which I don't remember that with Resident Evil 7, the whole Ethan's wife thing. I thought you could have the option of, I guess, pick A or B at some point in that game. So that was a little confusing to me.
Yes. So I'm guessing, I guess the canon way is that she survived. Like, you could make a choice, but I guess in their universe, like, I guess, what was her name?
I don't know.
Megan or something. The girl who, like, you're trying to save is I guess you ends up getting married between this one and this, and then you have like a baby or some shit like that, and then Chris just kicks down the door like the Kool-Aid Man and says, hey, we got to go on an adventure, and just kills his wife.
Yeah,
we'll see though.
That was fair, yeah. No, I guess, like I said, we'll see on that one. But the big topic that I kind of wanted to discuss today is kind of where Naughty Dog kind of goes from here. Especially because, pulling up the article from IGN where it says, Naughty Dog Vice President Neil Druckmann hasn't yet decided if the next game he will be doing is The Last of Us Part 3 or a brand new IP. Which, again, we're not going to talk Last of Us here, but, when it comes to Naughty Dog, you can essentially say they're big three. You have Uncharted, Last of Us, and I guess you could say Crash Bandicoot, whatever.
Yeah.
If, in the sense of the Uncharted games, you can't really... I don't think you can't really say, okay, the next Uncharted game's going to just feature Cassie, because then you're like, okay, now it's just Tomb Raider. You can't do, Nathan and Cassie, because then it's like, okay, it's The Last of Us. So what do you do? Like, where does Uncharted go from here? Last of Us we're not going to talk about. But, where does like Uncharted go, or where does Naughty Dog? Do they come up with a new IP? Do they figure out a way to do Uncharted 5 with however they want to do it? Can you do another one with Chloe and Nadine? Sure, I get it. Could you do one with, Sam and Sully? Yeah, you could. But you can't. I don't think you can do it with a solo female protagonist right now, because it's too similar to Tomb Raider, I think. And I know Tomb Raider just kind of ended with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Who knows what the hell they're going to do with that next? But where do they go? What do they do next? What's the answer? Who knows?
There's so many different variables. I mean, admittedly, a part of me as much as I'd like a new Uncharted would be fun, or another Last of Us game, it's not going to be for another 5-6 fucking years from now before anything like that comes out. And I kind of would rather just make something new. Tell me another story. Make up something new. I mean, you guys are clearly creative. You can do it. Give me something new. Just give me something totally new. It doesn't have to be based off of any kind of concept. Just make up something new and let's see what the fuck happens. I mean, yeah, Uncharted was great. I loved Lost Legacy. I actually thought that was really good. It was, people were kind of skeptical at first. Oh, it's an Uncharted, but it's got these two characters who, side characters, I guess, and it ended up being one of the more fun adventures from that series. It was a pretty decent game lengthwise.
I think it was like 8 hours, maybe 5 or 8 hours.
I would say even longer than that, actually.
Really?
I mean, if you're just beelining it,
I beeline things.
Yeah, and I like it, but I mean, I don't want them to just make another Uncharted because people want them to make another Uncharted, and I don't want them to make a Last of Us Part 3 because they feel like they need to, or because just the community is like, I want more Ellie, I want more Joel, I want more this, I want more that. They should just do what they want to do, because that's what game developers should be doing, is they should be allowed to experiment with things. And is it always going to work out? No, but in the last, fucking 20 years, Naughty Dog has released 4 Uncharted games, and then now 2 Last of Us games to critical acclaim. If they said they wanted a new concept and they went through it, people would certainly be interested and then go with it. I mean, when they announced The Last of Us, people were like, oh, another like post-apocalyptic zombie game, because that was when I was kind of hot, like The Walking Dead was around, all that stuff. And they released it and they put their own spin on it. It's not a zombie apocalypse, it's a fungus, all that shit. So it's like they can make their own tweaks, but I don't know. I kind of like the idea of them just making something new. Give me something fresh. Give me a brand new idea. Don't just rehash some shit. But if they make another Uncharted game and Drake's in it, I'll play it because I love Uncharted. So I'd be back.
I definitely 100% agree. Again, with the whole Uncharted 4, do I think Uncharted 4 was necessary? I personally think so, only because I know a lot of people liked Uncharted 3. I wasn't too big on it. I thought the end of it, kind of with the whole desert thing, I thought that was, when you're stuck in the desert for like what seems to be days, and you just kind of go buck wild, and you meet the guy from pretty much The Mummy all over again. And I thought the ending of that of Uncharted 3 was kind of not really what I expected. I think it kind of needed Uncharted 4. I think the ending of Uncharted 4 doesn't need Uncharted 5.
No, I think it ended in such a way where the the story's complete for that side of it. And if you do, but that's just it. If you do an Uncharted 5, it kind of, just by the name and the number, indicates that it is a continuation of the story of those specific characters. Whereas Uncharted Lost Legacy was, is that Steph?
Yeah, I'll edit that out. She's yelling at the cat. She's yelling at the cats.
But I mean, with Uncharted 5, it kind of like, doing an Uncharted 5, it kind of would imply like, okay, it's probably going to be Nate, or it's going to be Cassie, whatever. But Uncharted Lost Legacy was another thing. Like, they could just do Uncharted Sands of Time, and then it's just Sully and Sam on an adventure, or it's just Sam and meets up with new people and they introduce totally new people. I mean, it's not like there's any shortage of people in that universe that are hunting treasures and shit and get into weird adventures. So we could totally do that. But
do you think they need another Crash Bandicoot game?
They are, aren't they? I was just reading something the other day. I think they actually already are making some kind of.
Yeah, it was rumored. I didn't know what exactly, they were going to pull the trigger on that, and what exactly they were doing with it. I think it's about time.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't play the Crash Bandicoot remake. What was that now, like 2 years ago?
Yeah, I didn't either.
I didn't do it. I don't know if I could play those games again. I did like them when I was younger, but I just, I don't know. After I played the Spyro remake, I kind of lost the Spyro remake like halfway through. So I don't know if I could do Crash Bandicoot again. But I mean, if they want to make another Crash Bandicoot, that's good, but it's not going to be, like a $1 million seller like Uncharted or The Last of Us would be. I mean, you go anywhere now and you say The Last of Us and people immediately know what you're talking about. Like, right. It's a phenomenon right now. Like, it's everywhere. You can't escape it. So.
I agree. So I guess the last question I have then for the day is, before we wrap it up, is then pretty much, okay, so Naughty Dog did Uncharted, which is essentially Indiana Jones. Then you have The Last of Us, which is apocalyptic.
Yeah.
What's the next theme, assuming they come up with a new IP? Are you going to... You can't do something with samurais, because obviously Ghost is coming out, and, that pretty much is, the samurai version of Assassin's Creed everyone's been asking for. So, what's the next theme? What do you do?
Well, I would say... I mean, you look at The Last of Us, and I know, I guess... by definition, you would have to consider. I mean, I don't know. That's another thing. Like, I don't consider The Last of Us a horror game, but I know some people would because there's creatures and there's stuff in it. But I wouldn't consider it a horror game. But they could do a very I think these people could knock a fucking horror game, like a really legitimate, almost like a Silent Hill type game out of the park. Like they could give you a really good story and scare the shit out of you. I mean, when I'm in a dark basement in The Last of Us and I hear clickers off somewhere, it actually freaks me the fuck out because they're gross. But something tells me they might go much like my little Zoom background here. Maybe they go to space. They do some kind of space travel. Yeah, they do some kind of sci-fi shit.
I thought they were going to show some Dead Space 4 or some sort of Dead Space on the Sony on the Sony, the showcase, but they didn't. They put that other weird game out there. I forget the name.
Returnal,
whatever the hell it was. So the
one with the chick that keeps the astronaut that keeps dying and getting brought back to life. That one, I'm gonna play the shit out of that one. That one looks right up my alley because it's like a roguelike and you just keep dying and weird shit keeps happening.
Then there was the other one. There's one at the end of it. I forget the name of it, and it kind of looked like the same thing.
Something with a P. I can't think of it, but it's made with the same engine. It looks like that they used for Death Stranding. Like it almost looked like it was like a Hideo Kojima game.
Pragmata.
Pragmata, that was it. Yeah, that game I have no idea what that is. Straight up, no idea what it is, and it's probably not going to be a game that's going to be released until 2022. So I'm going to not really pay attention to. Yeah, I'm not going to pay attention to it for a long time.
I think you're right. I think space is probably the way they have to go. They have to do something, and come up with a cool linear sci-fi story beyond, like I said, some people might say that The Last of Us is sci-fi. Some people might say it's horror. Some people might say it's just survival, whatever the hell it is. But I think the sci-fi retrospect is genius. I think it's a really cool concept. I think you're right. I think they could kill like a Silent Hill type thing. Maybe do something like Silent Hill or like Dead Space, because I would love to play another game like Dead Space again. I thought that game was awesome.
Yeah. Scared still to this day scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, and it sucks you can't play it.
No, and I feel like those games are due for remasters or just pop them on the PS5 and Xbox Series X so people can play those again, because there's a total generation of people out there who've never played those games and would be genuinely terrified of those. I mean, the first one is still probably in my top 5 scariest games I've ever played. But I think Naughty Dog could really do if they're doing space, they could do Mass Effect better than
Mass Effect
did. The Andromeda was garbage, and I think they could do Andromeda themselves and it'd be really cool. They'll have the story. I think with any of their games, it's always going to have a good story. It's always going to have a good story, good characters. And I mean, the combat, I know we said we're not talking about it, but the combat in The Last of Us 2 is great. They can do combat really well. They did good combat, fun combat in Uncharted. They did fun combat in The Last of Us. I'm sure they could do some space game where you're shooting lasers and shit. Hell, let them take Star Wars away from EA and let Naughty Dog make Star Wars games if they wanted to.
That would be interesting. I mean,
make a game based off The Mandalorian and let them just write The Mandalorian as a game, and they could just totally crush that, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, hell, like you said, Naughty Dog does a really good job when it comes to storytelling. Next week I definitely want to touch base on linear storytelling compared to open world storytelling. I think that's a big thing that we could talk about. I think it's a good conversation to have, especially with Cyberpunk coming out and with Last of Us 2 already out, and you have Ghost coming out. How do those stories kind of put into place? And I know it's going to be a very interesting final race. And like I said, with Cyberpunk moving to November, that's obviously a release, game coming out for.
Yeah, it's a bummer that it got pushed back again, but I know CD Projekt Red and their games, and it's not a bad thing. They can keep pushing it back as much as they need to, because I know when the game comes out, it's going to be good.
Yeah,
I agree. Same thing happened with The Witcher, so I'm ready. And then another nice little tidbit on the way out there is that if you buy your Cyberpunk 2077 on PS4 or Xbox One, you get a free upgrade to the next gen.
So
I think it's probably only going to be digital. So just buy it anyways. Buy it, because then you'll always have it.
Yeah, and we all know we all can't wait to play that band game or see a little something more. So
yeah.
But anyway, once again, everybody, thank you for watching. You can follow us on Instagram at YMINerdOfficial, Facebook.com/YMINerd, and YouTube.com. You just have to search YMINerd right now. Once again, this is Alpha Beta Gold. I'm Cameron. This is Just Matt.
Until
next time, we're out.
All right, later.